All right, Unsecurity Podcast listeners, welcome to episode 177. Joining me is my good friend, as usual, Mr. Oscar Minks. Oscar, say hi, please.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, depending upon where you are, where you're listening at. Happy to be here. Thanks
Yeah,
for having me.
today's Friday, March 27th. This will air sometime next week, and we're going to continue our
I
discussion.
believe Evan froze.
I thought
That's what
you
it looked like for
froze.
me.
You look like you
Oh,
froze.
there we are.
Did I freeze?
Looked like
Yeah,
you
you
froze
froze
there.
there.
Yeah, just a bit.
I look. You look like you froze. We're gonna have to do that he said, she said thing. Did you freeze or did I
Mm-hmm.
freeze? I
Who's on
froze.
first?
What's on second?
All right, so I froze then.
Yeah, you froze. You froze.
Son of a gun. All right, well, no more freezing because we don't have time for that. All right, so episode 177. The last couple of episodes we've talked about this theme about the talent shortage problem in our industry, right? And we still haven't really proven that there is a talent shortage problem. We've identified problems like uh, maybe we do have a talent shortage issue, but we certainly have what seems to be an employment issue where necessarily we're not hiring what we think we need, or we don't even know what we need in a lot of places. And so that's where we started, with episode 175, and then earlier this week, episode 176, we took some job descriptions and kind of broke it down, right? That was kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Were you excited about it?
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, got to see some good and some bad, right? I think we pointed out things that a couple of the employers were doing correctly. And then we seen the flip side, when it wasn't awful, but still reading through one of those two job postings, understanding that probably the person who created that doesn't even really know what they actually need or want to fill that position. Or maybe they do. Maybe they're just being ambiguous on purpose. I don't know. But for me, if I was an applicant, I wouldn't be too excited about applying for that role because I'd have no idea what the expectations in the day to day are.
Yeah, I agree. Well, so we're picking it up from there, and we're going to talk to a couple of our own team members, and I think success stories. We have a lot of success stories at FRSecure. Um, so this week we've got Mike Nollan joining us. Want to say hi, Mike?
Hello.
Mike's one of those guys, and we were just talking before the show that there are some people you just remember the first time you met them, and some people you don't, right? And Mike's one of those people. I remember the first time we met, and I remember the first time somebody brought you to our attention. We were smaller then at FRSecure,
Mhm.
uh, and so I think it was Peter who had mentioned you to me and said, "You got to meet this guy. He's smart as, you know, really smart, and but he doesn't have any experience." Well, we've always subscribed to this theory that we hire for the intangibles, the things we can't teach you. We can teach you security stuff. So, Mike, how long have you been with FRSecure? And give me just kind of a little bit of a background of your journey.
Yeah. So I will in September, I believe it will be 5 years. Um, and my
Holy
journey
crap.
started as a scanner, so I would perform the scanning for a lot of the assessments. Um, did that for a couple years, and then I started moving into eventually external pen tests. And once I got my foothold in that, I kind of branched into social engineering a little bit for vishing. And then the very next step after another, I would say maybe a year or two, got into internal pen testing. And I just recently um, started doing a couple physical pen tests. Those are really fun. um, but yeah, it's been a journey. It's been fun. It's been awesome, and it it's really awesome to see how much I've grown, but at the same time, a lot of it I could not have done without the great support either. So I'll take some of the good work that I've done. Like it's on me that I did as well as I have, but again, I couldn't have done it without the great support of this team. So
Yeah, you have an amazing team that you work with, and Oscar, you had a big hand in putting that team together. Tell me your philosophy, or tell the listeners your philosophy on kind of hiring people.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's all about the intangibles. Eric, our offensive security manager, um, has got a phrase I like, and I think it's I can teach your grandma to pen test. She just has to want to do it. And I believe that same theory that those things like your attitude, your motivation, your drive, your honesty are so much more important than your actually skill set is today. And for me too, I see like flip sides where I've interviewed folks that have exceptional skill levels. They're phenomenal in the potential for that role. But I see a lot of people like that. They pack preconceived notions for the way that things should be done. And so it's harder to change those attitudes and thought processes. And then I see a lot of folks in that situation, not everyone, but it's more likely they're going to pack an ego. And they kind of believe like they already know how to do it, so they're not teachable. And so I think it's really important, no matter where your skill level, your maturity level is when you come into a role, you still need to be teachable and open to learn because everybody has different perspectives. And so those are things I look for. Do you want to do this? Why are you in this? And if I hear folks that are in it because of, hey, I want to make money, I feel like information security is a good path to make money, then I'm probably not going to be as interested in you. If someone's telling me, hey, it's because I believe I can help people, I want to use my skills to be able to do work that's um, I value and I enjoy, and then while also providing service to people who need my help. Those are things I look for. Now, the skills are important too, but again, if you're deficient in those skills today and you check all the other boxes, um, I want to help you get there, and I think that's something that we all share at FRSecure is we really want to build people up and develop those skills. I think Mike can tell you this too, but one thing I'm big on, and I think our whole team is really great at, is like no one has skills they hold for themselves, right? If you have a skill or you have knowledge, we want to share that with everyone around. And so really we're looking to see if like when we're hiring someone, are you going to be a good fit in that? Are you going to want to absorb that energy? Are you going to want to contribute to at the same time?
Yeah, good points, man. Well, here's the thing. I mean, some of us have been in this industry for a really long time, and we're still have to be teachable. I'm
Hmm.
still learning. I mean, I could write down a list of 30 things I learned this week. Not necessarily maybe about information security, but about my role, about
Hmm.
things that I can do better, about how I can support my team better, So you always have to be teachable. And we have a rule here, no dickhead rule, right? You can't be a jerk, right? We need each other. We're fighting, together. We're learning together. And I love the fact that you brought up too the sharing of information. One of my favorite things, I took a while for me to learn this. When people would take the work that I did and took credit for it, early on I would take offense to that. I'd be like, "Hey, that was mine. At least give me some credit for it." But I think as you mature, uh, I don't do that anymore. Now, when I hear people say things that I had said, I actually smile because now they're in this game with me, right? They're owning it with me. There's plenty of work to do. I should never feel threatened that, I'm going to run out of work. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I got a whole list of work. I don't want more work. So good points, man. Well, and
Yeah, and what's the saying too? Like impersonation is the highest form of flattery, something like that. So if
yes,
people are listening to what you're saying, and they are you know, maybe even parroting or mimicking those words, at least you made an impact for those people, right?
Right.
And they're
right.
they're thinking about those positive things and those things that you are.
Yeah, yeah, which we owe to, because that's the thing. Like a lot of times I equate this to, and I don't mean it in any kind of bad way, but like my kids, right? I love the people who work with me and for me, like my kids. And I'll tell you a whole nother story offline, but I have two kids that just aren't playing well with each other. So then dad's going to come in and discipline the kids. They're going to sit down and they're going to work it out. You're not coming out of this room until you do. So anyway, that's a whole nother story. But Mike, one of the successes for you, because you've proven it to be true, that if we hire somebody for the intangibles, they will succeed, right? You're only 5 years in, man. I'm so excited about what the next 5 years looks like, the next 10 years looks like for you.
Yeah.
And if we would have hired for the skills or looking for those, elite hacker skills, you would have never gotten in the door. So what kind of
Right.
skills
And
did you have when you started here?
what kind of skills? Well, a very eager mind to learn. I remember when I was starting, my goal was to get the CCNA cert to kind of get some networking background. And you know that book. It's like what, this thick. Like I would might again, to demonstrate the eagerness to learn, I would come in and I would read like a chapter or two a day before I would start scanning, and talking with clients and just learning what that process was. Um, and then just being able to articulate that to clients. So that's where my humble beginnings started.
Well, and even before that, I mean, before you,
Oh, even
like,
before that.
yeah, like
Um,
when you applied for the job,
oh, sure.
what kind of
Yeah,
experience did you
before
have?
that, before all of this, I was a dispatcher for a heating and plumbing company. I was very customer focused. I made a lot of, I would say I probably made 50 to 100 calls a day if I had to just guess off the cuff. Just updating clients consistently. So I guess that does kind of help with fishing a little bit,
Nice.
just being on the phone and kind of having a rapid fire and thinking on the top of your head really quick. But yeah, that's the extent to my background. And then in terms of education, I have a math major with a psych minor, again favoring social engineering, but the math major also helps with a little bit more of an analytical approach as well.
That's so awesome, man. So you were a dispatcher for a heating and air conditioning company
Yep.
and broke into security, and it was the intangibles that got you in the door, man. Because
Right.
I remember specifically hearing about your math major. That piqued my interest. I'm like, oh, somebody who can think logically, because that's one thing you need with math, right? I mean, especially, I mean, there's different types of math. Last night we were on the shit show. We were talking about quantum mechanics, and I'm like, oh, come on, dude, keep it simple for me, you know. But you had that logic thing. You're a, you were a people person, and you were eager. I mean, those things all came across, I think, in your interview, which got you the job.
Hmm.
It was you. It just happens to be our philosophy for hiring, and then to see how you've grabbed. Did you ever pass your CCNA?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I did. It was a two-parter one, so I passed the first one, no problem. The second one, when I was studying for it, there was a lot more work. I remember because a lot of the first chapter was all right. This is the vocab terms. This is the basic fundamentals, and then the second one was like, all right, now let's get into the command line interface and change
Hmm.
stuff, which helps at least for getting familiar with working in a terminal. So yeah,
You realize we're brothers, right?
yeah.
Because I'm a network guy. That's where I grew up, was
Oh
networking.
yeah.
And so anytime you want to read some packets together, brother, let's just do it.
Yeah, let's go to
That's where I got
Wireshark.
my start as well, man. Was networking. I was I think I've told Evan the story, but still living in Eastern Kentucky. Wanted to go to the University of Kentucky. Our vocational school there offered a CCNA course, and they offered like a CompTIA A plus course. And so I took both those courses in a semester, did my CCNA and the A plus, and then after that, got a job for a company in Lexington. Was able to move to Lexington, worked third shift, and going to school during the day. Sleeping when I don't know when I slept really when I think back. But
That's awesome.
yeah, it was a similar path, and I think it's important too to build that foundation on your own. Again, like Mock doing that and like coming in 2 hours before work so he could focus on his personal improvement. Those are those soft skills we talk about. We want to see with people, and when we're interviewing people, a lot of times, we'll ask, "What do you enjoy doing in your personal time?" Right? Tell me some relatable hobbies you may have that can be valuable in your job. And whenever we see those people that show that motivation, like I talked to a lady a couple of weeks ago, and I can't tell her whole story here, but it's just phenomenal how much she had going on personally with her family life and changes and COVID and educating her kids at home and all this, but she still was working through to get her master's in information security at the same time, and she'd stayed on track. And it was just amazing to see that drive and that motivation. And so, we didn't have a position for her here at the time, but the first thing I did when I got off the phone with her and started calling friends I know, like, hey, you should talk to her. You should talk to her. And
Hmm.
she emailed me a couple days ago, and she got a gig starting out as an associate analyst for another company, and couldn't be happier for her. And that's the thing too for us. We talk about the shortage, and I think we see a lot of folks from time to time that maybe they're not the fit for the position we're looking for that time. And I think we talked about this a little bit on the first episode, Evan. Like, if you find those candidates you're hiring, maybe they're not fit for you, somebody else may want them. So reach out and network with other people, and let's help make those connections. I
Yeah,
gotta say, yeah.
go
Sorry,
ahead,
go
man.
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, before I forget this, like I was just thinking about Mike's math and psych degree. There's probably not a better like major that's not like directly related to our field,
Right.
right? So,
It's a good combo.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like you said, like it really comes in handy in analytical thinking. But then on the psych side, there's so much psychology involved in the offensive work. I can't think of a better fit that's not like, hey, here's an IT degree or here's an infosec degree. That really, I think, probably played in your benefit in being the rock star you are today.
Yeah, I agree, man. And a lot of times, you get those people with infosec degrees or, coming out of college, you end up having to unlearn them a lot of
Yeah.
things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You were taught a lot of good theory things, and then somewhere you thought that you could apply that in a certain way, but you've never done it before. So you almost come off with like, I think, unrealistic expectations that you are going to provide value day one. You're going to get a high paying job day one. But then when people like us are hiring you and we're thinking about how I can actually use you in the practice, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's almost better to take somebody who does have a math degree, a math and a psych degree, or something like that, because they come in with less expectations. They're much more coachable, and I think the potential is much stronger, right? Um, and I'm not saying that there, some places, specifically look for those degrees. I'm not, it, personally, I'm not usually interested in those degrees. I'm more interested in you as a person, where you're at. Are you coachable? Can you help the team? Can you help me? Will you coach me, on things that I need to do better? Uh, and our team is like that. It's really, really cool to see. Yeah. So, Mike, what recommendations would you have for somebody, if any, for somebody who wants to get into this industry and they just don't know where to go or what to do?
I would say there's a lot of free available information to at least figure out what you want to do in security. Because there's a lot of paths you could potentially take, is what I've learned. You can be on offensive security, like what I do, or you could be on the blue side in terms of incident response. You could be a security consultant. There's so much you can potentially do, but the first part is figuring out what you want to do. So I would say just start learning, just searching, Googling what sounds interesting to you, and then you'll quickly find out what certs or courses you can eventually look into online to potentially confirm that that's what you want to do. And then from there, just either pivot to a different thing or just keep going, because there's a lot of free and available information. Like example for we offer free training for the CISSP cert, so that's a good example.
Yeah, that's good advice, man. And I think advice for the hiring side, and Oscar, I'm going to turn this over to you in a minute because one of the things I think we always say, if I had a position for you, but when I think of Mike, where you started at the very beginning, I think every organization everywhere has a position for that,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
because everybody's got, like I was thinking about like one of the basics, one of the fundamentals of information security is asset management.
Yep.
And people like me struggle with that, right? And I can't afford to pay, a six-figure resource to go build that for me. I can buy some tools, but still I'm gonna need somebody to run it. Uh, it's a struggle, and it's so foundational and fundamental to the security program. Why wouldn't I hire interns or somebody like where Mike started to come do that for me, right? Or any organization, right? What's the cost? I don't know what the cost is, 30, 40, $50,000 per person, whatever it is, even interns, and send them around with, like Mike, when you started, one of the first times we met, you were building cables, network cables,
Yep.
right? Talk about a great, uh, sort of humbling experience, right? Can I take a college degree person who's got a cybersecurity degree? Can I say, all right, for the first couple of weeks, you're going to be crimping cables? They'll be like, no,
Right.
I went to school for 4 years, and you're not going to have me crimping cables.
I already did
Whereas,
that.
right, where I'd rather have somebody like, all right, you're going to crimp cables because that's what I need done. That's what the organization, that's what the team needs. And then as we find more needs and as you grow in different places, so I would love to see a lot more people hiring just that, right? Stop looking for the all-stars everywhere or somebody's going to fit a specific mold. Why don't you start with like, I call them grunts, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm still grunt. I mean, look at me. Hello, look at this guy. I'm the definition of grunt. But hire grunts. Send them out and do stuff. You got stuff that needs to be done, and you can get 4 grunts for the cost of one All-Star.
Yeah, and even
So
think about like the cost of solution. When we think about like asset inventory, I hear people say, well, we can't afford to do it. Right. Well, you're looking at buying a 6-figure solution, right? You don't have to do that. I've talked about this before. I mean, you just have a spreadsheet, like you talk about, send somebody around with a clipboard and an ink pen and put that in a spreadsheet. And
hey,
if you think
remember
about
these
like,
things?
what is the cost? Yeah.
What's
It's called
that?
a
It's the cost
pen.
of that intern.
Let me show you how it
Yeah.
works. You push this thing down and over, and then out of this other side comes this. If I put this on a
Well,
piece
wait,
of,
I'm confused. Mine doesn't click down, but
show
if
me
I pull
yours.
it, it breaks apart
Show,
and there's like a thing in the middle that
what?
breaks apart. Yeah.
That is overly complex.
Yeah.
Complexity is the worst enemy of security. But yeah, you're right, man. I mean, just basic stuff. Stop thinking, you're ready
hmm
for the moon when you haven't even gotten off the ground yet.
hmm
Sorry, man.
Yeah, and it's all about like just giving folks that chance, like we've talked about, and you're going to have a need if you can think logically about it and understand just where that person could fit, because there's always going to be remedial tasks in the beginning that folks just don't want to do because they feel like it's beneath them, which is poisonous, and I don't support that either. Or B, they can't kind of see the forest for the trees type of approach. So I have to have the flashy solution when it really sometimes is just hard work and elbow grease. And then you have someone who's a beginner that could come in and be very eager to solve that solution for you, and it's great benefit when they do. Then also you're giving them that opportunity. They're going to learn even just going through that task, right? They're going to learn some things, but they're going to have the opportunity to interact with other people. Say if you're just creating that inventory by saying, hey, what does this system do? Tell me about this application. Tell me about the data that lives here, and just start to instill those principles of why it's important to have that system inventory, why it's important to have that application inventory and the data inventory, right? And so you're building that foundation. I think every great security expert starts with a solid foundation, and that foundation we all start. It may be a different piece of the house, like maybe I'm on the corner and you're on the side, but we all start at that first level when we're building our foundation, right? And so you have to give opportunities for folks to
Yeah.
do that. And then you got guys like Mike who built his foundation, and now he's up on the roof, man. I think he's got solar in. He's really just built a foundation and excelled from there.
Well, for hiring people, they don't realize how rewarding it is either to be a part of, somebody
hmm
like Mike, because day one, he was providing value. We had grunt work.
Yep.
We found grunt work. Now, my recommendation for people that are hiring, find the grunt work. Go out. You got it. Everybody's flipping got it. I've got it. I've got it in my own house. It's just whether or not I want to attend to it or not. But you've got grunt work in your company today. Find that grunt work, and then find the intangibles. Hire a Mike. Hire a Megan to come do the grunt work for you, because their intangibles aren't like, well, that's beneath me. They understand that I need to earn my way, down this path. And then another piece of advice for people that are hiring the grunts: don't ever, ever take advantage of them. Don't ever treat them like they're less than you.
hmm
They're grunts, yeah, but they're serving a really important purpose in your business, and you have a long-term vision for them, which is where we see Mike today, 5 years later. And I'm so grateful for his managers, you and others, that have gotten him to where he's at now. Now, the next question, I got for you, Mike, is what, do you have ambitions next? I mean, where's the next place you'd like to start exploring and going in your career?
I would love to get more into physicals. I know I just started doing them, but I would love to start building out more methodology on those. More ways to attack, more ways to, of course, once you're done attacking them, start defending them, because that's the ultimate goal, is to secure it. That would be awesome. That would be the next start. Developing a little bit more of my skill sets and internals, because you said this a lot, Evan. Let's just focus on the basics. I mean, people are still putting passwords in their descriptions for user accounts, so it's like, come on. But like, once people start fixing that, it's like, okay, well, what's the next thing to start looking to attack and start learning too? So like, there's always something to learn. So
That's
it
cool,
never
man.
stops.
I'm really, like I said, I'm super excited to see your next 5 to 10 years, because
Right.
everybody on this team, except for maybe my son, has so much. I'm kidding, obviously.
Come on.
Has so much potential. I mean, I've told this to Oscar because we have our side conversations, and I remember it was in the middle of COVID, and you guys had just taken, I think, second place on a DEF CON CTF, and I'm not going to go into the shit around it, but whatever. It still ticks me off, but there's a day of reckoning. But we were talking, Oscar, and I think you were relatively new to leading the team within a year or so,
Mm-hmm.
and I said that this is the best team on the planet. Once they start to believe it, you'll see it.
Yeah, I remember
And
that conversation too. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
and because
And
they
I think it
have
was
all those
like,
intangibles, there's nothing to stop them.
yeah, I think I had said to you, like, man, we've got such an awesome team. And you said, no, we've got the best team on the planet. And I say that now. Talk about mimicking earlier. I'm sure Mike's heard me say that, but I say it often, and we do. I mean, we've got the best team, man. And I think it is because of all those intangibles we talked about before. And I feel like we've developed a culture where one of my favorite sayings is, your ego is not your amigo. We don't have a lot of ego here, right? And like, sure, there's going to be times we joke with each other and you poke at each other, but it's all in good nature and good fun because we really do care about each other. But at the end of the day, if anyone needs anything on that team, there's going to be someone that's going to step up and help them with that. And I think that's, in my opinion, like why we are able to grow people, mature people in their skill sets fast, probably faster than a lot of other organizations do. And it's because, we collaborate, we work together, we help each other. And, I don't know, Mike, like, what would you say from your perspective was, I don't know if you have one story or a specific instance in your growth path here that really sticks out for you. Like, I remember this happened and this helped me get over this hump and helped me to become who I am today.
Yeah, I know those moments have happened, and now it's one of those, like, now which one do I pick?
Yeah.
Like, which one do I grab for? I think the moment, in terms of, I wouldn't necessarily say struggling, but at least the moment when something clicked and I was like, oh yeah, I can do this and this is awesome, was the moment I've got my first domain administrator privilege on an internal pen test. Because because it feels great to get it, because you're like, I got them, but then you now get to discuss, okay, this is how I got you and this is how you're hopefully going to fix this. But once I got that moment, it's like, all right, we're ready, bring them on, let's do another one. Like,
Yeah.
that was a really, really nice moment.
Got your excitement rolling.
Yeah,
and
it's
and
really
then,
a high
yeah.
too, like when you get it,
Yeah.
your first one, or just any time that happens. So,
and then build your confidence too, right? So
Yeah.
you're excited. On top of that, you're confident and you feel just that,
Right.
self-empowerment, man. The world is mine.
Right.
Well, we all feel that too, right? I mean, I don't know if you've ever had tough days, man, but having your team around you to build you up in those tough days and to support you, because there are
Right.
times, and I think, Mike, just as advice as you continue your career, as you elevate and you start doing things that others either haven't done or aren't doing, or you elevate in management, I have a saying, it gets lonely at the top. meaning it's lonely. Nobody really understands a lot of the things that you're doing because you're doing things that other people haven't done before,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And that's when you really need the support of your team. That's when I reach out to, and I won't even let them know necessarily that I'm doing it for this reason, but I'll reach out to Oscar just to talk, and just, talking helps, right? And so
Right.
don't ever forget that either, that we need each other for those hard days and as things struggle. Um, and you can reach out to anybody here. I know that everybody, even myself, everybody is here to support each other. And if they're not, then we have another discussion to have, which is okay too. That's what I'm doing with my other two kids.
Hey, so Mike, I have a question for you too. I know we talked about like kind of how to get your start here. Maybe do
Yep.
some Googling, figure out your path. I believe that. Let's talk about like your path specifically in offensive services. If someone's out there listening today and they want to get into offensive services, they want to be a pen tester, but they really don't know where to start. Like, what's your favorite resources that you've used that you would recommend that maybe they could go check out? And maybe something that's free, or even if it isn't free, maybe it's low cost, just something that's accessible for people. What would be your favorite one or two things?
I it's funny you say that because actually right now, I have a friend group that some of them are interested in becoming cybersecurity professionals, either changing
Hmm.
careers or what have you. And right now, what I've kind of at least started with some of them is let's go download Metasploitable and Kali, and let's just learn the tools. Let's learn the tools first. I'll identify if you have any IT background very quickly, because if you're going to ask me what a port is, we're going to go a couple steps back.
Yeah.
Like, all right, let's go look at A plus stuff first or Network plus. But if they have somewhat of a strong or comfortable base, then it's like, okay, now let's start learning about Nmap and what it does and what information to look for when you start launching scans. And then you can also then start saying, okay, looks like port 80 is open. Let's start learning about DIRB or NICTO or other various web attacking tools. And that's what I would recommend, at least for a very, very base start, is kind of like looking at a good training box. And Metasploitable was one I started with. TryHackMe is another one that I've recommended to some of the people that I've worked with. It's a really nice, I would say, interface to kind of learn some of the tools. And then once you kind of get a good base within some of those operating resources, then start moving into like Hack the Box, because I would say some of the resources within there are a little bit more challenging, but I know Hack the Box lately has also made the barrier to entry a little bit lower in terms of some of the boxes and challenges within there too. So that also could be a really good starting point as well.
That's good advice, man.
Yeah, I agree. Those are fantastic resources. And I don't know, Evan, if we can have like Brandon, I think he's the one who puts this up. Maybe put some of those links to the tools Mike talked about in the notes so our listeners could, they haven't heard those, they could find a way to
Yeah.
access them. And also, you could shoot me or you an email, and we can get you tuned on to that.
Yeah, we're absolutely here to help and serve. So yeah, we'll bring it up with Brandon, and yeah, good advice. If you don't see it or if you have questions, reach out to us. We
Mm-hmm.
might be a little delayed in responding, but it's just because of workload. It's not because of, we don't care.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up. Next week we got Megan and Mike. I can't thank you enough for being here, man. I just want
Yeah.
just listening to you talk and watching you. I mean, your confidence level is like a billion times higher than it was when you started. And man, I'm
Different
just
than
so
the
proud of
cable
you.
guy. Yeah.
No, I'm really proud of you, man. You've done a great job.
Yeah.
So
Thank
Yeah,
keep
you.
it
your
up.
growth, man. It's just been phenomenal since I've been here, and it's been awesome to see. It's just amazing to see like where you are today. I mean, you're an amazing, awesome, incredible pen tester. Not only that, every project or whether it's customer facing or internal project that you touch, you take so much pride on, and you're going to make sure that it's done to the best of your abilities. And whenever you present, like, believe me, everybody that's interacts with you can see that and feel that passion that you have, that motivation that you have in your work, man. So super proud of you. You're incredibly awesome, and thanks for joining us today too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's awesome
absolutely.
to be here.
All right, so we wrap up with shout outs. Oscar, you want to start? You got a shout out for
No,
us.
no, I'm going last today. Let me think
Oh,
about my
okay.
shout out.
All
Yeah.
right, Mike, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
I want to shout out to my mom. Hi,
All
Mom.
right, that's awesome, man. Oh crap! I'm gonna give a shout out to these two kids that they know who I'm talking about, and they both listen because they're going to step up and resolve the differences. You know, they're not going to put their things aside, and they're going to be locked up in a room until they do resolve them. And kudos to them because that takes a lot of gumption to do. So shout out to them.
Yeah. I'm gonna give a shout out to my folks too. I like that. And not just my mom and my dad. Hi, Mom and Dad. I gotta tell a story. So like, you guys know I'm a big fly fisherman, and
Mhm.
my dad's always been kind of old school spin fishing guy and stuff, and went fishing with him a couple weekends ago. And I was fly fishing. He was on spinning reel. And then he hit me up this week. He's like, "Hey, I'm getting a fly rod. I'm getting me and your mom a fly rod. We want to learn to fly fish." I'm like, "That's awesome. I can't wait to teach you." So it's just kind of cool to see my old man and my mom like wanting to learn new things still as they're getting older. And um, I'm excited to be able to do those things with them and teach them. So way to go, Mom and Dad. Keep thinking fresh and coming up with new stuff to do.
That's super cool. All right. Well, that's it for episode 177. I keep forgetting the number. We'll see everybody next week.
See you guys.